There's this great movie that I don't know if you guys have seen, but I happened to be on Netflix one day, and I noticed a movie popped up in my queue called Under the Boardwalk. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I don't know if that's about Atlantic City or Monopoly. I don't know what it is. And it turns out there's this great documentary about the board game Monopoly, which I'm sure, like many of you, a big chunk of my childhood was spent playing Monopoly, usually in frustration. And we actually have the producers, this is a great documentary, we actually have the movie for sale in the bookshop if you're interested in it. But one of the things two interesting notes from the movie, the first one that you'll find interesting is that Monopoly was actually originally designed as an anti-capitalist teaching tool, which is the reason why the mechanic of the game is that one person wins and everyone's bankrupt at the end of it. Interesting fact, was since changed. The second really interesting thing about the game, about the experience to me, was this guy, Tim Vandenberg, who features prominently in the movie not only as the number 2 ranked competitive Monopoly player in the United States, but Tim is an educator from Southern California who actually uses Monopoly as a core part of the curriculum in his elementary school. He teaches a class basically based on Monopoly, which is an amazing, amazing idea. And I was blown away by it. And for those of you who've been, for our alumni, you've seen GSummit before, you know, and I'm sure you know, education and the use of gamification education is an incredibly important topic that's near and dear to all of our hearts, even if we don't work in ed. So it's with great pleasure, I'm pleased to bring up to the stage Mr. Tim Vandenberg. Thanks so much, Tim. There you go, buddy.
Beautiful. Thank you. All right, Monopoly Academy. Who has ever played Monopoly? I thought so. Who has ever had a board, a token, money, house thrown at you, or you threw it at somebody else? Monopoly is emotional, and Nicole likes that. She's right. Emotion is so important to gaming. Well, Monopoly is all about emotion. There is one game, though, that is the most played game in all of the United States of America. Every child in America must play this game. And I'm sure you know what it is. No Child Left Behind. Can you imagine having the government require that every kid in America play your game or buy your product? Well, every student in America has to play this game, No Child Left Behind. And it has all the signs of gaming. And there's points and scores for schools and teachers, how they do. There's different levels of achievement and rewards and punishments like job loss for the educators. So this is the game that all teachers must play. I'm a teacher. I teach 6th grade, 10 and 11-year-old students. And how am I going to get these kids motivated to rock this game, No Child Left Behind, that my job depends on their success? Well, enter Monopoly. There's this movie that Gabe was just talking about, and I'm going to show you 2.5 minutes of this film, me working with my kids in the classroom, and pay attention to the fun the kids are having while also learning serious math skills. I remember playing Monopoly with my family growing up like everybody else says. I can still remember playing by the fireplace at night with my mother and my father there, my brother there, and I was winning the game, but really it was my dad telling me what to do and doing the mortgages and everything. The reason why that memory is special to me, and I think in today's era, a lot of people can relate to this. It's one of the few memories that I have of my family all together before my parents separating and divorcing. I know that sounds sad and whatever, but really it's one of those things that you can hold on to and just really treasure those moments of wholeness and oneness together.
I have the privilege of getting to play Monopoly with 11 and 12-year-olds almost every day of my work and get paid for it, so it's wonderful.
This is one of the training boards that my 6th graders and I practice on. It's got all the math probabilities, expected values. This is the percentage calculated by Truman Collins on his Monopoly website. From those numbers at the bottom of every property in the game, I've extrapolated all the expected values of rent incomes from all the different property groups as a whole and all kinds of other math I've come up with as well. So this is what we use in my 6th grade classroom, and it has helped a lot.
What does he need to roll to get to Park Place or Boardwalk?
2, 7, 8, 9, 11.
9 or 11. Okay. Where's the probability of a 9? Probability of a 9 is 11.1. What's the probability of 11? 5.6. So if you add them both together, There's about a 16, almost 17% chance that you land on them right now. Let's see what happens. Go ahead and roll. 9. There it is. 9. He did it. Today we started out with, we call it Monopoly Mornings. And students are allowed to come to that if they earn really good grade on a district-wide benchmark test. So it's a real large carrot for them to shoot for. What's 4 times 200?
800.
800. So that's $800. Now look at how much rent you'll get if he lands on you. 600 or 500. Okay? Isn't that a lot better than the 50 or 100 bucks doubled? Consistently now, since I started my Monopoly in the Morning carrot, my math class continues to set records for the high math class at this school on those district benchmark tests. Monopoly, doesn't that take forever? Who's ever played a game of Monopoly that lasted 12 hours, 12 days, 12 weeks? I was in line at Walmart buying a game set for my classroom, and the cashier said, "Oh, I just finished the game with my sons. Took us 3 months." Actually, if you play Monopoly according to the rules, for example, did you know that there's no money in free parking? Have you ever been paid money to park your own car? Give me a break, okay? That injects too much money into circulation. Nobody ever goes bankrupt, so play by the rules. And the game only lasts 60 to 90 minutes. Also, isn't Monopoly just dumb luck? I mean, just roll the dice, whatever. Try telling that to a serious poker player or a blackjack player, right? Ask Jeffrey Ma, right? Okay, same with Monopoly. It's all about the skill of human negotiation and using your math and understanding of expected values within the game system to work everybody to help you beat them. Okay, also, Monopoly is uniquely popular for over 75 years. It's not just a fad. It has sold over 275 million sets, 1 billion players worldwide since 1935. It ain't going away. I've learned with my students that my 6th graders are more familiar with Monopoly than with the Beatles, Disneyland or Disney World, Star Wars, or any other thing out there, Britney Spears or whatever the latest thing is. They know Monopoly because it costs just $10. Anybody can buy Monopoly at Walmart. Also, it does have educational roots, as Gabe was talking about. It is used to teach originally anti-capitalism, and then some college universities picked up on the fact that, hey, this game is really good for teaching business. It also requires human interaction. You know how many awesome math students have no skills talking to other human beings? It's so good for teaching that. It also has competition, politics, and cooperation. Therefore, it is emotionally involving. Yay, Nicole. And also, kids love money. They love to flash their cash, don't you? Monopoly has massive educational benefits, mathematically, economically, financially, socially, negotiation skills as well. Let me read some of these for you. Math benefits. Kids, by playing Monopoly, I have taught all of these skills in my classroom. Mental math, the partners of 10, ratios, rates, interpreting the remainders, fraction, decimal, percent conversions, estimation, exponential growth, experimental and theoretical probability, expected value, independent, dependent, compound, and disjoint probability events, informed predictions, mean, median, mode and range, data analysis, permutations, algebraic reasoning, game theory, and much more. And that's just math. How about economics and financial benefits? Learning about supply and demand, opportunity cost, risk versus reward, return on investment, inherent versus and hidden costs, limited resources, scarcity, financial concepts of mortgage, interest, taxes, and dividends, liquid versus fixed assets, the importance of emergency savings, financial timing, price discrimination. Hey, I'll sell this Boardwalk to you for $400, but to you for $1,000. Inflation, the price warping power of monopolies, and much more. Also, social and negotiation skill benefits. Positive sportsman. Imagine if our youth of America had these skills, just these skills. Positive sportsmanship. Cooperation, conflict resolution, looking out for others' interests and seeing the world through other people's eyes. Win-win negotiation skills, communication and persuasion skills, auctioning skills, thinking first before acting by controlling your impulses, Anybody have children you wish to learn how to control their impulses? Okay? Don't believe a smile. Facts before feelings, stick-to-itiveness, rolling with the punches, delayed gratification through investment, paying attention, winning and losing graciously, and much, much more. Okay, so can we all agree that Monopoly can teach something? Okay. So who do I work with? My clientele. I teach in Hesperia Unified School District. Have you seen the cover to the U2 album, The Joshua Tree? That's what decorates where I teach. Okay, it's the high desert of California. This is a low socio-economic area. It has the highest gang per capita in the largest county in the United States, San Bernardino County of California. There's a very high percentage of students on the free lunch program. Family stability is non-existent for most of my students. Traditional families are very rare. Oh, you have two parents? They both live at your house? Wow. Very high transiency rate. 6th graders, 10 to 11-year-olds. Okay, so this isn't exactly like the ritzy area. This is the gang, this is the low socioeconomic zone of California. So here's what happened. In March of 2008, I decided to take 6 of my top 6th graders to a local charity Monopoly fundraiser tournament. For 3 months, we studied the strategies, the expected values, the negotiation skills. We read the books together. We learned how to play the game. They knew what they were doing. We go to this tournament, and after the first round of the tournament, one of my 6th grade girls runs up to me and says, "Mr. Vandenberg, I just defeated the first ever Monopoly world champion." Okay. She does well enough in the second round to make the finals, and in the finals she gets 2nd place overall with about 8 U.S. level players at this tournament. Okay, so we decided to take it up a notch. We invited the reigning United States Monopoly national champion to my classroom with documentary cameras rolling, with county and district superintendents present, several newspapers there. She versus the U.S. champion versus a boy who got a perfect score on the state math test and versus another top girl. That same girl won. She beat the reigning U.S. champion. I think she's been learning something. Now, you talk about intrinsic reward. Yeah, she's learning some math, but imagine the pride and the self-confidence that girl will have for the rest of her life, knowing that if she dedicates herself to something seriously, she can go be awesome at it. Then in March 2009, I had some more students beat that same U.S. champ in a tournament. So my students said, "Mr. Vandenberg, you should try this. It's really cool." I said, okay. I tried out for the U.S. Championship. 1,600 online entrants. There's online qualifying rounds and whatever. Then they brought the top 28 to Washington, D.C., and I got 2nd place. So this math really does work. And then recently I held a local tournament near my school, the High Desert Championship, and one of the teachers that I taught the skills to beat that same U.S. champion and won the whole tournament, along with many other pros who were there present. So, what's going on in my classroom? Educational results. My entire math class is gamified. This is what I mean. I've got rewards, I've got levels, and so on. For example, every quarter I give an MP3 player to the top students, so all the high achievers are really pushing for that. Students level up. We have 4 math classes. I teach the high math class. If kids do really well on the district benchmark tests, they level up to the next math class, to get to my math class where it's fun. And they're all killing each other to get there. Also, we have a super huge reward after state tests are done in April for the entire last month of school. If you have stayed leveled up in my math class, you're one of those top 36 students in the grade level, you get to stay in my math class for the rest of the school year. There is no homework, no classwork, nothing. We just play Monopoly, learn to solve Rubik's Cubes, and if you want to do some 7th grade math, go ahead. But we're going to play Monopoly. Now, how would you like to have no homework, no classwork for a month? And this is with principal and district blessing and approval. Why? Because they're killing on the state math tests. Also, I have a Hall of Fame. I've got on the wall every single student who scored advanced on the state math test once I started doing this. And the kids look at that. I said, you want to be like one of those kids? So there's that all-time high score list, you know, like on a video game. That's on my classroom wall. The kids want to be on that. Well, here's what happened with the data. District benchmark tests. We're setting record scores all the time, killing that test every 6 weeks. Also, we have rapidly increasing California state math test scores. In 2007, before I ever started this, I had a whopping 10 kids score advanced, the highest level on the California state math test, the number that matters. In 2008, when I started using Monopoly in the classroom, 19 advanced students. 2009, 27 advanced students. 2010, 37 advanced students on the California state math test. I think it's working. We've also had several perfect state math test scores since I started doing this in 2008. Before then, I had none. Also, I've had students go from the very lowest level of math class, the low group, you know, they're never going to achieve whatever, counting on their fingers still in 6th grade. I had one girl level up to the next class, level up to the next class, level up to my class. Why? Because she wanted to work hard to get there, to be in my math class, and she scored advanced on the state math test, counting on fingers before she got there. Also, they're learning major social life, business sense, and negotiation skills, like those lists that I rattled off for you. Some anecdotal evidence. At that local tournament we had recently, I had a real banker, like a real teller banker, as one of the bankers for the games where my 6th graders are playing against each other. And she was literally in tears. She said, "Your kids are too fast. I cannot keep up with them." This is a lady who handles money for her living. And she can't keep up with my 6th graders. Why? They play about 3 seconds a turn. Because we roll, we move the token, we're paying rent while the next guy's going, and she was literally in tears. So they really can do math accurately and quickly. Also, 2003 U.S. finalist Ken Curry came to my classroom and played with my 6th graders for a day. He told me he was very impressed with their speed and accuracy for 11-year-olds, and he said, quote, "They make no mistakes." And they almost beat him too. Also, I want to mention Danielle this year, who came to me in tears at the end of the school year, knowing that this would be the last day she might ever see me because they graduate, go to junior high. She said, "Mr. Vandenberg, I wanted to quit your class midway through the year because it was so hard, but you encouraged me to stay and to keep it up, that you believed in me. And I had so much fun, and I am so confident that I will do so well on that state math test. And I know when the scores roll in July that I will see Daniel Black advanced on California state math test because she worked so hard." Now, here's my epilogue. So Monopoly works. Here's my message to you. You're probably not a teacher. You're probably not going to go use Monopoly in your classroom. What can you do? The high stakes, no child left behind system has pushed teachers and schools to their absolute financial and energetic limits. We've done just about all we can. Yeah, there's bad teachers you got to fix. But most teachers out there are really working really hard. Ask their spouses. The key ingredient that is missing currently is the widespread, consistent, and effective parent support. That is what is missing in the classroom, from the home. Yes, a lot of parents do love their kids, and they're doing the best they can, but there's a lot that don't, that kind of neglect their kids. Like my students who were picked up 6 hours late from a field trip. Why? Because who knows what they're doing at home. So what can you do? The law cannot require parents to be good educational supporters other than make their kid go to school. But gamification can motivate parents to be effective parent supporters, educating, helping from the home. The next billion-dollar idea in education will make this happen. Thank you.
Awesome, right? Okay, so we have a few minutes for questions if you guys have questions for Tim. But so I have one for you. I have a few actually, but we'll start with one. So a lot of discussion happens about girls versus boys in math. right? And your use of Monopoly is principally math. You're teaching math. So have you noticed, is there any difference when we introduce this kind of economically oriented game into the mix in terms of how girls and boys are in their interaction? Like, what do you notice?
Monopoly is a very social game, and girls are good at that. And they know how to work people really good. Historically, looking over the last few years, most of my top Monopoly players have been girls, like that girl that multiple times beat the reigning U.S. champion.
And that's because of the social skills that they demonstrate.
The social skills. Like maybe the top math student in the class for the quarter might be a boy, but he has no social skills. He doesn't know how to speak up and ask for his rent. He doesn't know how to negotiate win-win situations. He just says, give that to me. I want Boardwalk. Give that to me. Well, why should I give it to you? You're trying to rip me off. Right. So seeing the world through other people's eyes, girls are usually better than that, at least in my experience, at the 10, 11-year-old level.
One of the other things that I often find I smack my head about when I think about the work that you do, or Ananth Pai or some of the other educators that we've had come through here, is this very simple idea that learning something like math should be fun, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So why is that difficult for so many people to kind of wrap their head around? Like, what's the insight that you had? Why is your insight different from other people? What can we do about that?
I think what I did is I found my passion. My passion is gaming. I've also tried Yahtzee, Rubik's Cubes, and I still use them once in a while. But I think what teachers need to do is find their passion and use that to teach their kids, or find their students' passion and use that to teach their students. Get what you love into your classroom. And I think the teachers that do that are the awesome teachers.
We have a question right here. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
My name is Audrey. I'm a mom. I have 2 little girls who are brilliant at math. And I'm wondering if you I'm thinking about the difference between competition and play. And I'm wondering if just as you find kids who are really motivated to be competitive, if you see kids that maybe would do well but are unmotivated, demotivated by the competitive nature of it? Or do you find that all kids respond well to that?
Okay, I had a student this year who literally did nothing all year long unless he got to play Monopoly. Even if it was just to be the banker. Being involved with that motivated him to literally he sat there and did nothing. But I knew he was brilliant. He was ranked 3rd from the 5th grade state math test coming into my class at the school. So I knew he was smart. So I never kicked him out of my class. I knew that if I just kept him motivated. So it sounds like there are some kids for whom you're finding other motivations besides specifically competition. Like they want to play, but they don't necessarily want to compete. Is that true? Right. A lot of kids, they just love, as Nicole was saying, the social aspect of the game. They may not win their 4-player game of Monopoly, but they sure am enjoying watching Susie beat Johnny. And they're really loving that social side of it. Or maybe the kids that don't want to compete, I let them be bankers. And so they are doing all that mental math skills, very quick math calculations, keeping the game running. And so they're still involved, they're being social and taking part and laughing along with everybody else.
Thanks.
Cool. Take a question.
Yeah, John Bauer,
Yes.
UBoost. We do gamification in educational scenarios since 2005. One thing I noticed about your presentation that we don't always see when we're in the schools and in the classrooms is your passion. And your passion for what you do, and the fact that you've really keyed in on something that you love comes through in the way you deal with your kids and the way you deal with us as an audience. You made the point at the end that we need to gamify the experience for parents.
Absolutely.
Completely agree. We started trying to gamify for teachers too, but to your point, getting teachers in touch with that thing that really drives them so they can be passionate is really what we need for our students in school.
Can I make that? I think that's a great point. I just have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you find that the fact that it's a game, like specifically it's a game, if we were going to replace, let's say what you did with Monopoly with like a book, so the bonus is you get to read a book for the last month. Is it specifically something about the notional idea that to kids that they get to play a game that's part of the incentive?
I think there's just something universally appealing about Monopoly. I mean, my kids know more about that than Star Wars, the Beatles. There's something about that. They have an emotional experience where they beat their mom or their aunt or their brother in Monopoly, and they want to go do that to their friends. So there's something motivating about that.
About Monopoly itself.
Yeah, I tried Yahtzee, and they're like, yeah, it's all right. I tried.
It sounds like an old person's game, Yahtzee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, good morning. Great presentation. Two questions, either one I'd be interested in. First one is, do you think that this is scalable if it's so successful? Why aren't all the math teachers in the school doing it, or why aren't other schools doing it? And the second is, it looks like they're playing very much according to the existing rules. One of the things that I've seen with games is as it becomes more advanced, the children want to start to create new rules.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of that happening?
Yeah, I've had kids share with me their new rules. Usually new rules extend the game, and that's fine, but I'm a teacher, I have very limited time frames. But in our before school programs, they can do that, come up with their own creative ideas. Regarding it being scalable, let's see, I have to say this right.
Well, it doesn't seem very expensive, right? In that regard,
Yeah.
it's scalable.
I've taken steps with the proper people, and it's now in their hands. So.
Well, I'm sure you'll have more to say off the record. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we're out of time for more questions. Everybody, I want to thank Tim Vandenberg again. Thank you so much, Tim.